Welcome to the Wizarding Wireless Network podcast with me, AJ.
And me, Will.
Together, we will be bringing you our no-holds-barred thoughts, opinions, and detailed analysis on all things Wizarding World. So, with that in mind, grab yourself a glass of fire whiskey and settle into this week's episode of the WWN.
Welcome back to the Wizarding Wireless Network with your hosts AJ and Will, streaming to you live on all your favourite podcast providers and on YouTube. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking all things swishing and flicking. That's right, magical wands.
That is correct, William. We are discussing wands. We are talking wand wood, wand length, wand core. It's all kicking off.
We're going through it all, AJ.
Right, quick question. What's your favourite wand?
My favourite? Oh, God. Starting off with those decent questions. Wow, okay. It would have to probably be Hermione's wand, if I'm put on the spot. Mainly because it's my first wand that I ever got from Noble Collections.
Now, that is very interesting because I remember asking you this question a little while ago and you told me it was Dumbledore's original wand.
Okay, so it is a bit of a toss-up between the two. I have a little soft spot for Hermione's wand just because of that whole thing of buying that as my first one, and Dumbledore's just because of sheer style.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, my favourite, the one that, right, so I've got probably about 35 wands at the moment. I've still got a little way to go to get the full collection like some people that I know.
35 and counting.
And counting, yes. I would probably say, and I think it's very similar to you, I keep going back to the first wand that I ever bought, and it was the Elder Wand. I got that the day that I got my exam results. And I still keep going back to it. And I just like the way that you hold it. It's just like a nice little one that sits quite nicely in your hand.
So is that your kind of go-to wand, or is that your favourite?
A bit of both, really. I mean, I think if I was cosplaying, always for some reason my go-to was always McGonagall's wand because I like the whole elegance and the swishing of it.
That's what I thought you were going to say when you were going to say your favourite. I always pictured you with McGonagall's wand.
I mean, it's my two favourites. I would say they are my two favourites. I don't have them in my wand racks. I've got them on the bookcase so that they're just very easy to grab hold of should the need arise. I don't know. But whenever that would happen. So that's probably my favourite. Yeah, that's probably my favourites, yeah, I would say. What's your least favourite wand aesthetically?
Oh, now that's a bit more tricky. I think, ironically, it's the one I'm actually holding right now, and it's going to be Fred's.
Are you for real? That's a nice wand.
Okay, so I like it, but at the same time, it feels spiky. Like when you're holding it, it just doesn't have a handle that you can kind of grip.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I don't really know if you would call it controversial, but I know that Wizarding World, maybe last year, the year before, they released a couple of wands that were just like individual releases. It's not a character wand per se. It's, the dragon wand.
Yeah, the Iron Belly one.
The Iron Belly grey dragon wand. If that wand picked me, Ollivander's, I'd be fuming.
Asking for a refund.
I would. I'd be like 7 galleons for this. Are you having a laugh?
Snap it in front of him and go no.
I know. Must do better, Mr. Ollivander. But, I mean, I can see where they were coming from for it, but I would probably say that is probably one of my least favourites, just aesthetically. And I think the fact that it's grey, I don't really know why. I'm just so used to seeing wands that are kind of like oak coloured or brown, black even, but never grey. It just looks it's not my fave.
Yeah, I think realistically for me, it's a case of if I have a wand, I want a wand to look like it's made of wood. I don't like these kind of character wands where it is like a thestral or a phoenix. They look incredible, but they just don't look like wands. They are more like decorative pieces.
Exactly. And listen, I don't know about you, but certainly if ever I play Hogwarts Legacy, and you can collect all the different wand handles, and some of them are really nice, but I always just go back to the plain wood of my wand. I might put it on for all of 5 minutes and then take it back off again, just because I really like the aesthetic look of the wood.
Yeah, I think I was the same. I think I ended up picking one that was like the chess piece, but it was still like a wood aesthetic.
Yeah.
So, talking about favourites and not favourites, let's go for what is your actual wand then, AJ?
Now you're asking, let me log in. I'm horrific. I genuinely cannot remember this for the life of me. I'm getting Wizarding World dementia as I'm getting older.
Honestly, I've literally just had to take a screenshot of it today just so I had it prepared. Because even, like, I probably know the length off by heart, but everything else...
Right, wand, where are we? So my wand, it is a redwood wand with a unicorn core, 10 3/4 inches, and it is slightly yielding in flexibility.
Okay, so we're going to come on to all the different types of woods, the different types of cores, and all of the different meanings. So we'll see if we can try and break this down later on in the episode. We'll come back to your wand.
Yeah. What about you?
So I have a vinewood wand, similar to Hermione.
Okay.
With a phoenix feather core. 14.5 inches.
Oh, size queen.
And rigid flexibility.
Okay.
He's got a rigid 14 inches.
Literally. Filth! That's quite cool. That is actually quite cool.
Which I was quite happy with, because it's almost like a mix between Harry's and Hermione's, and I thought that was quite a good mix. So let's think. So talking about the wand wood, there's actually quite a lot of meaning behind the different types of wood that comprises of your wand, and actually there's quite a lot that goes on with the making of it. So one of the things that I found was a lot of the wands of the characters specifically actually were linked back to their birth month in the Celtic calendar.
Okay.
So Draco's wand is made of hawthorn wood, and in the Celtic calendar that falls then between May and June, which then falls perfectly for Draco's birthday, which is on the 5th of June.
Very nice.
Whereas then Hermione's was then vine, and that then fell with her Celtic calendar tree, which was a vine tree, and that was between September 2nd to the end of September, and her birthday is then smack bang in the middle, the 19th. So actually, it's quite interesting that a lot of the woods then related back to their birth month. The only thing that was then slightly odd was there was a lot of wood ones like yours. That's not part of the Celtic calendar. So it's not always then the case that just because your birth month falls into a certain wood type, that's the wood you're going to get. And actually, a lot of the woods that are in the Celtic calendar aren't then seen actually in woods. So you've got things like reed in there. Reeds are never seen as wood ones because they're not rigid enough.
Do they not grow in like marshlands?
Yeah, it's that kind of like, it's almost like bamboo.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was a lot of the wands, the wand wood just related back to their calendar months. Now, they each then had different wand woods, but the wood actually then had different specialties. So a lot of the woods were picked out purely because they had specialties within maybe certain skills or certain branches of magic, pardon the pun. So things like fir wands were really good for transfiguration. Yew wands were very good with curses. And altar wands were very good with non-verbal spells, which again is then really relating back to Voldemort having a U wand, which then makes a lot of sense, because if he's then kind of dark arts, curses, that's this whole gig, then him having a U wand goes pretty much hand in hand.
Love that for him.
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing of like one choose the wizard, I mean, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, with the different wand woods, obviously you can't just go straight into a forest and just pick up any random stick, because otherwise everyone would be able to pick up a wand. Do you know what wizards look for when they're picking out trees to know whether or not it's good for wands?
Is it bowtruckles?
It is. Yeah, so basically any tree that has wand quality wood is basically trees guarded by bowtruckles. They have magical abilities, so obviously it's all tied in. So basically wizards would look for trees guarded by bowtruckles. And that sounds really cute and everything, but then when you think about bowtruckles being tree guardians and they would stab your eyes out, actually makes wand making quite a dangerous art.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just found it quite interesting that actually a lot of it's not just a case of like, oh yeah, we'll just go to an oak tree and just snap off a branch and just whittle that into a wand, and there you go. Now, obviously, you've got wand woods, which is only kind of realistically one aspect of woods. So let's have a look. So you said your wood was what, AJ?
Redwood.
Redwood. Okay. So redwood, ironically, is not actually one of the most commonly used woods. Actually, yours is quite an unusual wand wood. So redwood wands are actually quite interesting because they are strongly affiliated with those who have the disposition to basically just fall on their feet at any situation and be able to kind of snatch advantages out of catastrophes.
Love that for me.
Exactly. So even when things are going really horribly wrong, you know that down the line there is a silver lining that you will snatch and make work for you.
You better work.
And actually, one of the things that then Ollivander then said was that every time he gave away a redwood wand, he'd expect really exciting things from those people. So we look to see what exciting things you get up to, AJ.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, so that kind of like sums up your wand. Whereas mine being a vine wand. So vine wood wands is quite interesting actually because one, it's the wood of Hermione Granger's, but it's actually indicative of people who have a sense of greater purpose. So the idea that actually there's a big trajectory for that person.
That's quite cool to say, because as we know, Hermione Granger then became Minister for Magic, and she is just absolutely fabulous in every way, shape and form. So that's quite refreshing to know.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was kind of almost like we said about the whole series being breadcrumbs, and actually if that's something to do with the Wandlore and actually where her trajectory is going with the Minister of Magic, actually that is then quite a nice little subtle hint. But with wands, it is not all about the woods.
No, it certainly is not. It's what is deep within that wand wood that actually gives the wand its magic to an extent. I am, of course, talking about the wand core. So the core of a wand is a certain magical substance which is placed within the wand wood, usually extracted from a magical creature. Now, there's a few of them that we all have heard about before. For example, phoenix feathers, dragon heartstrings, unicorn tail feathers. These are the three that have been most commonly used by Garrick Ollivander, the Mr. Ollivander that we have been led to know and love. However, his father used lesser substances, for example, kelpie hair and nasal whiskers. But it's important to know that there are other cores available for your delectation. So, for example, Fleur Delacour's wand. What was her wand core?
Peacock feather?
No, think about it. Think about her heritage.
That she's French?
Oui, but she is also part
Yes. Okay, yeah. So she has Vela hair?
Well done. Well done. She has got Vela hair. As well as that, we've also got the Elder Wand, which is currently, as we are aware, the only wand in the whole of the wizarding world with a thestral tail hair. So thestral tail hairs were regarded as an unstable, if not the most difficult substance to use in wand making. It was potent, but a very tricky core to master. Only a witch or wizard who was capable of accepting death could do so. And it would seem quite fitting that the person who made a wand with thestral tail hair was Death himself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Death. So we have got a few other ones. For example, now this is actually quite funny for some reason. Do you remember Sir Cadogan?
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what his wand core is?
I don't. Maybe is it like? Please don't tell me it's his pony hair.
It's not, but it's kind of. I mean, that's probably a very educated guess. His wand core is troll whisker.
Oh, okay.
I know, which I did think was quite funny. But it's fair to say that it is inferior to the 3 supreme wand cores, as they say. So the 3 supreme wand cores, as Mr. Ollivander puts them, is your unicorn tail, phoenix tail feather. No, is it unicorn hair? No, it's unicorn hair, phoenix tail feather, and dragon heartstring. But as I say, there are so many more of these. It's very interesting once you start to read into it. One of the things which I found really interesting was Salazar Slytherin's wand. The core to that was basilisk horn, which I didn't know that you could get, but they said it's unknown probabilities, but presumably it had a strong affinity for the dark arts.
Which makes a lot of sense for who wielded it. Exactly.
So, but it's said to be that, irrespective of your core, all of your wands which are sold by Mr. Ollivander did cost 7 galleons, irrespective of the core, wood, length, etc. It is to be said, though, that Professor Slughorn did say that in 1996, during his term at Hogwarts, unicorn tail hair was worth 10 galleons a hair.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to say, whoever's now looking after Ollivanders, I'd be putting my prices up just to turn a profit margin.
Yeah, exactly. He's missing out.
Yeah. So, Will, what is your wand core?
Mine is Dragon Heartstring.
Dragon Heartstring?
No, I'm joking. It is a phoenix feather.
Oh, okay. So, according to the god of Google, phoenix tail feather wands were capable of the greatest range of magic, though they may have taken longer to reveal this. They showed the most initiative, sometimes acting of their own accord, which we did see during Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. And, you know, that little battle between Voldemort and Harry going from, where did he go? Little Whinging Surrey to the Burrow.
That iconic scene.
That iconic scene, which I told you I'm having a stroke. So that's a quality that many witches and wizards actually did dislike. Phoenix feather wands, they're most picky about potential owners, and their allegiance was usually a hard one, and they were the most difficult to tame and personalise.
There you go. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But like we had said, well, we had this discussion pre-recording, and there's only 4 characters that we can find who actually have a phoenix tail feather wand. Now, the 2 of which we obviously know come from Harry Potter's wand and also Lord Voldemort's original U wand. But the other 2 wands genuinely did surprise me, because I would have thought that it would have been such a prominent character to have a phoenix tail feather wand. So the other two characters with these type of wands is Professor Sylvanus Kettleburn and Celestina Warbeck.
Which is then quite fitting for what we're hosting right now, but obviously not the most kind of well-known characters in the wizarding world.
No, justice for Celestina. Justice for Celestina. Now, when it comes down to if you're going by the three most commonly used wand cores, Phoenix Feather out of the series is the one with the least amount of characters with that as a wand core. Now, I believe, let me double check. No, I'm just reading this because on this Wikipedia page, right, they've included everybody as in like from Hogwarts Legacy, from Hogwarts Mystery, you know, that little app.
That everyone plays.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, who the hell is Penny Hayward? Or Haywood? I'm like, who's she? Anyway, but so by looking at it, Dragon Heartstring wands, they are the most common used wand core for the characters that we have got in the series, followed closely by Unicorn Tailhair, which I believe I have.
It is, yeah, it's your one.
Now, Unicorn hair wands were not very powerful, but they were the least prone to accidents and the least likely to change loyalties. They were also the most difficult to turn to the dark arts. I am a lawful good, it would appear.
I would say not necessarily lawful good, considering your wand wood is redwood. You like a catastrophe.
Yeah, but catastrophe finds me. I don't cause it.
Why is it when anything happens, it's always you three?
Legit. And then, of course, we also have Dragon Heartstring. Now, Dragon Heartstring wands produce the most powerful and flamboyant magic, and they learn spells faster and easier. However, they were more prone to accidents. They were the most likely to change loyalty, but would always bond strongly with its current owner. It was also the easiest to turn to the dark arts, though it would not turn on its own. With that being said, though, it is rather interesting that when you look at the wands who are made with Dragon Heartstring, you can see where this would go. So, for example, who do you think has a Dragon Heartstring core?
Well, obviously the most obvious one would be Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah.
Did Bellatrix have a Dragon Heartstring as well?
She certainly did.
I'm going to say Drake. Well, no, Draco was unicorn hair, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Now, when we look, we have got a few other characters. So Hermione Granger, her wand is a Dragon Heartstring.
Interesting.
Victor Crumb's wand is a Dragon Heartstring. I can see that for him, considering they still learn dark arts at Durmstrang.
Yeah.
As discussed, we've got Lucius Malfoy, Bellatrix Lestrange, Gilderoy Lockhart's wand. I'm surprised that could even work. Then Professor McGonagall's wand is Dragon Heartstring. But then again, it does produce the most powerful and most flamboyant magic. I'm just going to circle back in corporate terms here to the duel between McGonagall and Snape in Deathly Hallows Part 2. She was shooting flames, honey. Flames! If that ain't flamboyant, I don't know what is. But then, when we talk about the ones that are easiest to turn onto the dark arts, we have got Peter Pettigrew's wand, Dolores Umbridge's wand, and Professor Slughorn's wand.
I mean, actually, so kind of like circling back to McGonagall's, because actually quite interesting. I just had a quick Google whilst you said that. With McGonagall's, it's interesting that she's got Dragon Heartstring for like the flamboyancy, but she's also got a fir wood wand. And fir wood is then obviously really good with transfiguration magic.
Absolutely.
So she's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Oh no, absolutely. The thing is though that I've noticed about her wand, it's the length. It's 9.5 inches. Now if you've got the Noble Collection wand, if that's 9.5 inches, then nah.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, with the lengths, actually, So it actually says that all wands have individual lengths, but they are usually between 9 and 14 inches.
Yeah.
So interesting, her being like 9.5 inches. Isn't that unusual?
No, not necessarily. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think we're going to start to talk very shortly about wand lengths, but I think the shortest wand in the series is Dolores Umbridge's.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking that? Now, I do not know who designed her wand. I want to say it was, I will say it was Minalima who designed the concept art, because they designed everything. And fabulously so. But I think Dolores Umbridge's wand represents her character the best.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think actually it's the best kind of mix of, it's that kind of like sickly, pink, short. I mean, it's quite bland, really. If it didn't have like the gems in it, it would just be kind of like, what, anal beads?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that? Are we allowed to say that?
I wouldn't. I'm not going to lie, because, yeah. So I think our audience is going to be a bit younger now, so don't really know if we can say that.
Well, we can I always put adult content.
Yeah, to be fair. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was anal beads, maybe like a sounding bar.
That would definitely
Anal beads is fine, but you draw the line at a sounding bar.
Absolutely.
Right, anyway, let's cut this, move swiftly on. Right, so talk about length. Is it length?
Yes,
yeah, we're doing length.
It is. So, yeah, I mean, like, Dolores Umbridge's wand is really kind of reflective of her in terms of the fact that it's a dragon heartstring wand, like you've said, where actually she's got an affinity for the dark side, which is very personality-wise really, like, accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's actually got the shortest wand Ollivander has ever sold.
Yep.
Now, do you actually know how long it is?
Is it like 8 3/4 inches or something?
Oh, you were so close. You should just 8 inches.
Is it just 8 inches?
It's just 8 inches. I mean, you were trying to give her that 3/4 extra.
Yeah. I'm just measuring. No. I'm just measuring from the base.
Are you doing a guy measurement?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just 8 inches. And so when we look at wands, so yes, Umbridge is described as a very short character, but Ollivander himself has then said that wand length is not a direct comparison to a person's height. That's not how the pairing works, because otherwise, me with 14.5 inches, I would be a giant at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
And as we both know, I'm not that tall.
No.
So with the wand lengths, so like we just said, it's about between 9 and 14 inches is your kind of rough estimate or rough kind of guide, should we say. And we've then said like certain ones are then smaller than that, but there are ones that are bigger than that as well. The longer ones are usually paired with people who have bigger personalities, more dramatic with their choice of magic.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we then look at people like McGonagall, where she's got a larger wand because she's got bigger personalities, she's a bit more dramatic, and you can start to see how it all kind of like ties together.
Yeah.
Whereas neater wands, particularly like shorter wands, would then choose wizards who are then lacking something. So it might be personality wise, it might be in terms of their like energy, but they were lacking something.
Yeah.
So this is then when we look at people like Hagrid's. Okay, yes, Hagrid was a giant, and actually he did have to have a wand that matched. Because could you imagine like Hagrid going around with an 8-inch wand?
I would love. That's his finger.
Exactly. He's just there kind of going, doo. Little flick. Little toothpick of a wand. It's literally the meme So obviously with Hagrid having a larger one, this was actually then attributed to his excitable, outgoing, his lovable energy that he had as his personality. Whereas Umbridge then being one of the shortest ones, it was down to her bigotry and lack of empathy. So actually it was her short-mindedness.
Okay, she had a fixed mindset.
Exactly. So that's kind of where the shortness of her wand came into it.
Yeah.
Which is then quite interesting, as we've then said, is that all of the elements of her wand really display her personality in the fact that you've got her lack of sight and extreme bigotry, so that narrow viewpoint, whereas she's then also got a dragon heartstring, so she's more kind of leaning towards the dark side. Sounds like Star Wars, but
it does.
But the fact that she is then very cruel and sticks to politics, but then isn't then going after anything. She's not really chasing to be like Minister of Magic. She's quite happy where she is as long as she's got a bit of power. So again, it all kind of like fits into that type of personality. And a lot of the other character ones fit within that. So that's realistically the wand length. So what was yours then, AJ?
So my wand length was, I think it was 10 3/4 inches.
Okay, so you're kind of middle of the ground, aren't you? Because if you were like between 9 and 14.
Yeah, 10 3/4 inches.
So you're about middle of the ground. So you're not necessarily either lacking in anything, but you're not a kind of accentuated personality, which I kind of disagree with, because I think you are.
Oh, thank you.
You're definitely you're very witty. I'm surprised you're a Gryffindor, not Ravenclaw.
Yeah, you and me both. But then again, I'm a bit thick. At times. Right, this is very interesting, right? And this is kind of like coming off piste a little bit.
Okay.
But during this facilitation workshop thing, it was like trying to work out where you were in your personality, right? It was like a personality test. And the next time,
personality test.
Oh, same. Anyway, the next time I see you, I'll do it with you, right? Because it's like a specific one that they've developed, and yeah, I can't find it anywhere on Google. But anyway, so it was like you're either in one of 4 boxes, and it's like on an axis. So you're either amicable, or is it amiable? You're amiable, expressionist, a driver, or an analyst.
Okay.
But it's where you sit on that axis. Right? So I did mine and I plotted myself into where I thought I was going to be. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'll go there. And then I did the test, and then I said to the guy, look, this is my score. And he said, that might not be right. Do it again. So I did it. I'm off the axis. I was off the axis.
On which side?
Amiable.
Okay.
It's people who are like very warm personalities, people who like caring for people, and I was like, yeah, I'm like off the grid.
Yeah, like my job has just made me super at that.
But it was like, it's not what you think you are, it's just like your initial gut reaction, like do this, and see what you think. Next time I see you, we'll do it together. It's very interesting, I must admit. Anyway, so that's that. Right.
So yeah, you've got kind of like mid. So we were saying like you've got like a very mid ground, but I don't necessarily think that's particularly right for you personality wise. I think actually it's not necessarily a reflection on you. As per like mine, I wouldn't say like mine's particularly a reflection on me. I mean, having it towards like the larger side makes a lot of sense, because in terms of being able to kind of put myself out there, I can do that. Whether or not it's the thing that I like doing the most is another thing.
Yeah.
And actually, I would put myself kind of more towards like a maybe 11-inch wand rather than 14 inches. And honestly, I can never talk about wand length with a straight face.
No one can. No one can.
And I'm literally thinking everyone listening to this is literally just giggling every time.
Yeah, probs.
So obviously, we've talked about wood wands, wand woods. We've talked about wand cores, wand lengths. But there's also then like the final element to complete the package, which is the flexibility, AJ.
Yeah, so the flexibility, this is something that to me it never really stuck with me as to being able to understand it. Because whenever you're watching the movies, Mr. Ollivander does talk about wand flexibility or how rigid it is, and then he'll take the wand and almost try and snap it and he'll listen to it. But then for me, my understanding is, and please feel free to butt in here, but like the flexibility or rigidity of the wand, it's the willingness of the wand to change its master or its owner, almost. So for example,
okay.
Yeah, so it's like how willing is the wand to change its owner, and if in the right circumstances. So for example, like Draco Malfoy, his wand, it was won by Harry during the skirmish at Malfoy Manor. Mm-hmm. When Mr. Ollivander said, so unicorn hair, is it reasonably pliant, I think?
Reasonably pliant, yeah.
Yeah, so reasonably pliant, this was the wand of Draco Malfoy, but I sense its allegiance has changed. But whereas when you go over and look at Bellatrix Lestrange's wand, on the other hand, it's unyielding. Like, not for moving in any way, shape or form. Mr. Ollivander said that, you can use it, but just be very careful. Be very careful when you do use it. But in some instances, like we've said, wands can take new masters. For example, when its master is disarmed or when it is stunned or killed, the wand might accept the old master's attacker as its new master. Very much in the same way that, as we've discussed, Draco Malfoy and Harry, but obviously the most prominent example of this would be the Elder Wand. However, the Elder Wand, according to Professor Dumbledore, only respected power. So, irrespective of its owner, it would be power that it would put its allegiance towards.
So would you then, in that regards, put it as flexibility being more kind of bendy?
Yeah, very much so.
Because it kind of fluctuates?
Yeah, very much so. So for the Elder Wand itself, it said that it would transfer its allegiance even if its defeated master was not in possession of it at the time. No other wand is known to share this trait. The Elder Wand's allegiance could be won as simply as by forcibly taking it from its current master's hand, as Harry did with Draco Malfoy, although it was more frequently obtained by murder.
Okay.
But then again, this raises a very important question, I think, because Harry, albeit he did disarm Draco, but he did not disarm him with the Elder Wand. He did not disarm him. Now, that, to me, it does then just harpers on the... No. It highlights the point of the Elder Wand alleging itself to power, because Harry disarmed Draco physically, not through magic. He physically disarmed him of his Hawthorn wand, albeit at the same time Draco was still master of the Elder Wand, but he never ever put his hand on it. He never cast a spell with it. So it just goes to show how powerful and sentient the Elder Wand really is, because it can sense that Draco was not as powerful as Harry.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It's quite a thing to kind of get your head around, because obviously you're so ingrained to think like, okay, no, it has to be like the wand that you're taking off of the person. But the whole thing of like being able to snatch out of someone's hand is plausible, because obviously if you think about the history of the Elder Wand, the person wasn't always, yes, obviously most of the time it was murder, but the murder wasn't always through dueling. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Like, for example, the is it Antioch Peveril the original of the three brothers, the original owner of the Elder Wand, he had his throat slit for good measure.
Exactly. So, like, that was then not a magical way of killing someone.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But then again, it just goes to show that whoever killed that person overpowered them.
So yeah, it's definitely quite interesting, the fact that how flexible it is. And actually, I'd never actually kind of attributed the flexibility of the wand to how easily it would then change hands.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the flexibility of your wand? Because
so mine's was slightly yielding flexibility.
Okay, so yours is quite a loyal wand then.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was yours?
And mine was rigid.
So it's not moving.
It's not moving at all. Like, mine is mine.
Yeah, yours is yours. Yeah, I must admit, it's very interesting, because the thing is, when it comes to wand rigidity, flexibility, it's not a factor that ought to be considered separately from the wand wood, core and length, nor of the owner's life experience and style of magic, all of which would combine to make the wand in question unique. So I think over time, the flexibility of the wand may change.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting, because obviously you get a wand fairly early on in your life, and actually, as we know, like, your personality changes so much as you grow up. So maybe as your personality changes, then it might be misaligned to the wand that you're having.
Exactly.
It might start to then seek someone else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that is quite interesting. But what we've kind of like gathered from obviously what we've then looked at is actually there's so many different components to a wand that then makes it so unique to a person. And actually it's how everything kind of pairs together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think you could have, so U wands, for instance, are very kind of aimed towards the dark arts, whereas then you wouldn't then be able to have a U wand with a unicorn hair.
Yeah.
Because actually the linkage there is then too complex.
Uh-huh.
So actually it's definitely like one of those things where there was a lot more information here than I think either you or I actually had anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very interesting subject. I mean, for me, certainly, I have always really been fascinated by the whole study of Wandlore. And I think we could spend so many hours just talking about this, and I don't think we will ever cover everything about Wandlore in one episode. And I think going forward, we will break this down and get into the nitty-gritty in future seasons to come.
Yeah, I think we will definitely have to, because there's just so much to cover in this topic, really.
Now, with that being said, where do we stand for next week, William? I believe that we are going on to chapter 10.
We are. So chapter 10 is next week, which is Halloween.
Halloween! Woo! Which is actually tomorrow.
It is. So, well, it won't be tomorrow when this goes out, but...
Nah, but it's tomorrow. And
it's tomorrow in our time, because we are time travelers.
We are. Don't tell the ministry.
We stole time turners.
Several.
Yes, next week we will be exploring chapter 10, Halloween.
Lovely.
So, as always, thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of the WWN with your hosts, Will
and AJ.
And we will look forward to seeing you guys next week. So, take care, and no, I don't know what to say for goodbye, because I'm like, you've got cherry bubbles and it's really cute.
Aw. Pip pip.
Pip pip cheerio.
Yeah. Cherry bubbles.
Tittle pip.
Bye.